He's the author of The Medical Advocate, How to Receive Optimal Health Care and Avoid Harm in the Complicated Maze of the American Healthcare System. And, of course, we all know that it has taken a hit for the worse since COVID-19. Perfect guy to speak to. Let's welcome him in. Making his debut on the Bernie and Sid in the Morning Show, Dr. Stephen Greer. Steve, good morning, pal. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I know who you all are. I used to do a lot of Fox business myself, and you've had the show there. That's good. Yeah. Hi. How are you doing this morning?
We're doing well.
Great.
Nice to have you. Thank you for stopping by. Let's get right to the big story this week. President Trump admitted that he takes hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic. We think it's great. We've been over this with many doctors on this show, many cases, overwhelmingly, that the drug has worked in fine fashion. And yet the media and most people who hate Donald Trump have taken him to task. Dr. Greer, what's the real truth? Is this a good idea to take hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic like the president has been doing?
Yes. I don't know if I haven't heard anyone else talk about this in the media, so this might be something novel. Prophylactic use is not some quackery thing that Donald Trump pulled out of his hat. It's being studied by big medical centers, and there's a lot of indication that it will work. And they first discovered this in areas in Africa and so forth where they take the drug for malaria, so people are taking it. And then they noticed, there's a lower incidence of the coronavirus. So, kind of coincidentally, it's a small world. William O'Neill is the principal investigator of a trial at the Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. I've known him for 20 years. And they have already given 3,000 employees doses as prophylactic to see if it prevents the contraction of the virus, and the endpoints are looking at things like whether you get the virus at all, and then if you do get the virus, does it curtail or make this illness less serious? So that will be ready. The data on that could be ready as soon as July. And the reason I think that's important is not only does it explain why President Trump is on it, but I believe that will be a bigger event for the economy and the markets and so forth than the vaccine. So recently we got early trial data on the Moderna vaccine, and the whole stock markets went up with the thought that, this will allow everyone to go back to work. I don't see that happening. Vaccines have a lot of issues, but this pill is easily given to millions of people. So if the prophylactic use study shows hope, I believe this will be the way to allow people, at least frontline people, to get back to work. So this in July, look for a big data event on that.
Yes, sir. Dr. Greer, we will look for that. We spoke to a doctor over a month ago working at Mount Sinai Hospital in Queens, where he said it was worse there than during the aftermath of 9/11. And he, back then, was taking hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic. And the politicization of this drug really is, as you know, as most of us know, is the manifestation of Trump derangement syndrome, which, of course, there is no therapeutic or vaccine available for. But now, to that point, these people on TV are railing against it, including some medical doctors that they put on. You seem to think that's really doing great harm.
Yes. I mean, on a different channel, Joe Piscopo's show several weeks ago, I had a hunch, and then it was confirmed, is one of the direct reasons there's such a high death rate in those hospitals, like you mentioned in Queens and Brooklyn, is the Governor Cuomo's and the entire media has stigmatized this drug, so the doctors are having trouble prescribing it, even if they want to. But there's a lot of peer pressure amongst the doctors where they laugh at the drug. So these patients come in positive, they're sick, they've got a fever, and they're not getting the medication. So, of course, they progress to more serious illness. And then just to go through the steps, they put them on a ventilator, but then they don't properly take care of the ventilator, and then the ventilator ends up doing more harm than good, and then they die. So they're not getting these drugs as a direct 100% result of this propaganda. And by the way, that's not protected by the First Amendment. You're not allowed to cry fire in a theater or something. When the press intentionally engages in propaganda that leads to public harm, There needs to be an investigation.
That's a great point, Doc. That is an excellent point.
He says it's criminal. I mean, he takes it above and beyond. It's harmful. You're actually saying, Dr. Greer, that it's criminal, and you happen to be, based on this, you happen to be right. It is criminal. So let's talk about the COVID-19, though, in general, Dr. Greer. Again, we're in agreement with you about hydroxychloroquine. We've been touting it like President Trump for the longest time, and we're happy it's working for President Trump, and it seems to be working in overwhelmingly most cases. Look, it seems to me that most of the states now are enjoying down numbers. I know Georgia has had a bad couple of days, maybe Texas too. But it seems like most of the country, including here in New York City, the numbers are way, 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 way down. But yet they keep talking about this second wave, and be careful. If you all reopen too soon, we're all going to die. I mean, you see how what is the real deal with this virus? Should we be expecting in the fall with the regular flu some really immense and deadly second wave?
Well, it's a false argument because they are assuming that all of this house arrest nonsense has done any good. It hasn't.
But by the way, not only has it not done any good, according to the last statistics we saw, the 67% of the newest cases came from people staying inside.
Yeah, you're way ahead of me there. So first of all, we have that data you just mentioned. It's actually higher than that. It's like 80% of all the new infections are coming from nursing home, people who've been under house arrest for whatever reason, and so it's not working. Then J.P. Morgan, I think, some quantitative analysts put out some research of their own that's making the news that shows that every state that got out of the lockdown mode had a reduction in new cases. So there's this all started not to the whole mitigation, which is a euphemism for house arrest. It didn't start to prevent the spread of the disease. It started to flatten the curve, and we can't have the hospitals overburdened like we see in Italy. That was the first goal, and then they moved the goalposts, and now they're saying, oh, well, we got to have mitigation to prevent the spread of the disease. That was never the goal in the first place. There's no scientific evidence to show that it works, and never in the history of mankind has it ever worked, okay? So this is horse manure. This is crazy. This is insanity. It's doing more harm. When you keep people inside, contract the disease more.
Absolutely right. Dr. Stephen Greer, he's a practicing surgeon. He wrote a book, The Medical Advocate. It's out there at Amazon.com, The Medical Advocate. Dr. Stephen Greer, again, a practicing surgeon. Yes, 600 doctors, Dr. Greer, wrote a letter to the president yesterday to the point you were just making, which is that, again, it sounds trite at this point, but the cure is actually worse than the disease. They outline many examples, 600 doctors. So we're committing economic suicide and actually all kinds of other legitimate suicides, alcoholism, poverty, despair, all that stuff. So, yes, you're right, according to these 600 doctors. Maybe you were one of the doctors who signed the list. No,
I wasn't. But, yeah, I read about that. And what you're going to see perfectly correlating with these 3 months or so we've had our entire medical system shut down is a spike in all of the diseases that could have been prevented, from heart disease, cancer, you name it. So that's another future data point to look for. Maybe in 12 months, we'll be able to retrospectively look back, and you're going to see a big spike in cancers and things. And that's the other is we're so involved in this and we're so close in it. We really need years to reflect on it. But right now, we have shut down the American medical system. That's insane. That's the big. So you can't go to the hospital. If you have to go to the hospital, they, at best, if you can even get into the hospital, they make you do a nasal swab and wait 3 days, and no one's going to do that. So, we can't shut down the medical system.
No.
Especially since the reason behind it is a reason that is invalid. There's no reason to do the mitigation in the first place because it doesn't work.
Well, we couldn't agree more. And I got to tell you, one of the things that I do, because I'm a rebel, is I go to the park every day, Dr. Greer, and I yell at people. It's a terrible thing, I know, but I do it. I yell at people, take your stupid mask off. It's 70 degrees outside. The sun is shining in your face. We know for a fact, I'm not going to be a doctor to know this, that the vitamin D is great for your lungs. It's great for your immune system. I refuse to wear a mask. I got cops at the entrance to my park in Riverside Park and Central Park offering me a mask, and I go, no, thank you. They never bother me. But can you please, Dr. Greer, for once and for all, end this argument? Do you need a mask outside?
mask in general, if it's not now. For this specific case, the virus is getting killed outside by the humidity and the sunlight and so forth. But I don't subscribe to the whole notion that the virus is something that needs the mask. So, no, I mean, masks are clearly a government CYA move. They first lied to us, flat out lied to us, and said, oh, you don't need a mask. And now you must wear a mask. They've got to show that they're doing something. And if they didn't, Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo would look bad. So they've got to say, look, we're enforcing masks, you know. It's just pure government stupidity, compounding stupidity. So if someone wants to wear a mask for their own sake, I would not discourage it, especially if they're elderly or immune compromised. But no, I think your point is, yes, this is clearly just government, bureaucracy. And so.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look, you get conflicting information from start to finish. Dr. Fauci was here, he was there, he was everywhere. It was okay to take a cruise. Now we know in retrospect, Dr. Fauci was dead wrong about the cruises. CDC now says that the coronavirus does not spread easily on surfaces. We were told, oh, my God, it stays on surfaces for 72 hours. So, yes, a lot of misinformation and confusion.
If you have time, I'll give you 30 seconds on Fauci. I was the first guy in the nation to say that his models were bogus and that he's scared, but it was too late. He had already shut down the country. Anthony Fauci, this is not controversial. It's not like that Plandemic movie. Read his 2011 op-ed in the Washington Post. He admits it. Anthony Fauci created these viruses in his lab in a very controversial method called gain-of-function, which is, again, a euphemism for genetically engineering viruses to be deadlier. And it was so controversial that President Obama shut it down in 2014 after Ebola. And then Anthony Fauci took advantage of the new administration and restarted his program in 2017. So that might explain why Anthony Fauci is panicking so much, because he knows his lab directly funded the Wuhan lab in China. So Anthony Fauci is another criminal in this whole act. There's a lot of really bad people that are going to go down in history with this, including Governor Cuomo's killing of thousands of people in nursing homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can say that again.
Well, listen, Stephen, you were terrific. Dr. Stephen Greer, again, go out and buy his book. It's The Medical Advocate, How to Receive Optimal Health Care and Avoid Harm in the Complicated Maze of the American Healthcare System. And we bring on a lot of folks, a lot of doctors, but it's always nice when we bring on folks like you that actually make sense and are not afraid to go after the bureaucracy of the local politicians. So you were terrific. Thank you so much. Stay well. God bless you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.